Morning, everybody. Chris here. Welcome back to 30-Day Excel Analyst. This is day 16. This is our last session in Excel Modeling Week. So as always, an overview. To get started, we talk about 4 key skill areas for the Excel Analyst. We talk about data management, data analysis, modeling, and automation. Yes, automation is coming next using Excel VBA, but we're going to have a rest week before then. So it's going to be the week after next. We're going to be getting into automation. So if you're watching live, thanks so much for joining me. Leave me a comment in the chat. We'll cover those before the end of the session. If you're watching on replay, thank you to you too for joining me. Leave me a comment below this video. I will help you get as much value as I can out of the 30-Day Excel Analyst program. We're trying to transform your analytical skill set in 30 days. And as I said, today is the last session on Excel modeling. So it's a good time, once again, just to take a beat and get an overview of what we've done. So on Monday, we talked about different types of Excel models, and we said lots of models are to do with financial planning, and we covered a basic budget planner model. There's a whole download file that comes with that for you to practice your modeling skills. We practiced the big 5. Excel formulae got started with absolute relative references and things like that. Then the next day we covered a different type of model, which is what we call a row to row model. Practice various skills, talked about model layout and formula building, and of course talked about planning and conceptualization. Every day we've done a little bit on planning and conceptualization. Then yesterday we did a more bespoke model to do with garage doors, the garage door situation. We're going to do more on this scenario again today. Once again, we did lots on planning and conceptualization, and we built a data table, what's called a data table, that allows us to test lots of model inputs in order to optimize, in order to get the best possible output. We've got our basic concepts over here. A model, of course, consists of input, process, and output in Excel. So as I said, today we're going to continue with the garage door modeling scenario. You can see the original email as it came in here. This is the model that we built, or at least populated, yesterday. And today we're talking about visualizations, because as Excel analysts, I put in the video description today, we are translators. We talk about the Excel metaskills. Translation is one of our Excel metaskills. And it's up to us to explain data to people who aren't data specialists. And that process I call translation. What we can't do is just send somebody a spreadsheet and feel very, self-satisfied that we've put loads of cool formulae in or code, whatever it might be, and just send them the spreadsheet and expect them to make sense of it. This is an absolute critical error that I see quite a lot in the industry. It doesn't matter how fancy the techniques you've used are, and we've covered plenty of fancy techniques. If the average professional, yes, the average professional, not a data specialist, if the average professional can't get value out of your model. And this is why things like model layout are so important, inputs being prominent, outputs being prominent, and to add completeness, we want some kind of data visualization. Yesterday, we looked at a data table. We're going to take that to the next step. Visualizations are so important because they translate the model. Normal people, they ain't going to look at the tables. They ain't going to click through the sheets. Seriously, I've seen this so many times. People just don't do it, but they love engaging with visuals. So to complete your Excel model, you've got to have some kind of data visualization in there. Try not to throw my computer out the window at the moment because the Alt key seems to have just failed on my keyboard at the most inopportune time. As always, guys, the download file is available. The link is below the video description, of course. So we're going to look at creating this kind of visualization. So what it's all about, what is it all about? Well, you can go back, of course, to yesterday's session for the full explanation, but we've got our garage door situation for Milan. So he wants to know what combination of panels. We've got 2 different panels with different heights. What specific combination would give us closest to a height that he wants to input? So we've got the target height here of 2220. And yesterday, hopefully you were able to complete the model, but we looked at how to create this mechanism. So you can just put in a height, and then it's going to tell you the best possible combination there. So that's pretty cool. But the truth is, people don't often want answers. Very rarely in Excel analytical work is there a single answer. I find this a really interesting idea. When I was on my master's, I learned about what's called the problem solution mindset. And the problem solution mindset is a problem. Very quickly, what's the problem solution mindset? Well, this is what we learn at school. At school, we learn and we're examined. When we do those examinations, we answer questions. Those questions have particular answers, and then they're right or wrong. Now, that's a bit of an over exaggeration, but that's generally how it works. Now, that problem solution mindset is problematic because it doesn't apply to professional life. In professional life, in organizations, there's never really a single answer that's going to solve an organizational problem. Basically, never on my projects does that happen. So this idea of giving a single answer, it would be to misrepresent Excel analytical work to say that's what it's like. It's basically not like that. Rather, we'd want to give a range of answers to allow our customer to learn about the situation. This is what we want to do. We want to provide some insights, allow them to learn about the whole situation. We're not sitting there saying, this is the answer. That's not how it works. They can then combine the insight that we're creating from the data with their own intuition, their own experience, their own instincts, their own informal advice that they're getting about the situation. Combine the insight with the intuition. That's the way to make organizational decisions. So it's not about us being the smartest guy in the room, guys. This really gets on my nerves. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox now. So a visualization like this could be really useful because we're saying, well, 2 and 2 gives us the best answer in this situation. So the input here is 2220. But there's other ones you might want to consider, like this one looks pretty good. So the smaller the circle, one looks pretty good as well. So we're not giving a single answer. We're creating a tool to translate the data and to help them learn about the situation. This is how to approach your analytical work. Anyway, it's also just pretty cool. I think that's a cool visual. It's going to give your spreadsheet a wow factor. It's a great differentiator for you as an analyst. So this is what we're going to try to do today. We're going to try to recreate this visual. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to put a new sheet in. So what are some of the basics to get started with here? The basic things we've got to do. Well, data preparation. So you can go back to data analysis. We've got a whole session on how to produce charts in Excel, but we learned the preparation of the data is absolutely key. Now, for this kind of chart, what kind of chart is this? This is a scatter chart. I'm just going to go ahead and say insert scatter here. Oh, I'm not sure what happened there. Can I not select this? I just want to show you the dialog box you get when you try to insert a scatter chart. So don't worry about that. That's rubbish. But when we try to insert a scatter chart, what we'll see is not a scatter chart. Sorry, this is a bubble chart. We need X values and Y values, X values and Y values. Now we have those, don't we? Because we've got 2 panels and then we want different combinations. But the reason we need to do something extra here is that we need the data in the right format. The data has to be in 2 adjacent columns. So it's not going to work to just use the data table, for example. That's not going to work for us. So we have to create this setup where you can see I've got all of the combinations from 1 to 4 laid out here. Panel 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then panel 2, we've got all the 1s and all the 2s, all the 3s and all the 4s. So getting that layout correct, that's going to allow you to access more sophisticated visuals in Excel. But we're going to go ahead and just, can we create that setup quickly? So we want to go 1, 2, 3, 4. We want to repeat that. So you could just go ahead and do that. Control C, Control V, Control V. That's going to work, but let me show you quickly how I would do this. Now, previously we mentioned the mod formula. I think in Excel Data Analysis Suite, we mentioned the mod formula and the row formula as well. So the row formula is just going to give us the number of the row. So this doesn't look very useful, does it? But when we're trying to create this layout and put numbers into a report as we're doing, this can be really useful. So we've got the The row number here, I'm going to go ahead and just deduct 3 from this, and that's going to mean that we start at 1. And then we need 16 rows, don't we? So I can delete the bottom one, 16 rows, that's 4 sets of 4. Now mod gives us the remainder, I am a Remainer, guys. I've got to say that just came out there, didn't it? Gives us the remainder from a division calculation. Okay, so we're working in groups of 4. So we're going to take that row number and just divide it by 4 here, and then we can hit enter, and then we're going to go Control D on the Windows PC. And we can see we're kind of moving towards groups of 4, aren't we? We've got 0, 1, 2, 3 here, but we're looking to get that group of 4. If we can get that group of 4, we can then get exactly the numbers we need. So I need a minor adjustment here. If I say +1, that's going to give me 2. So if I say -1 here, that's going to give me 0. 2. But what if I say -1 at the end, rather? Just a little bit of, get rid of that. No, 1, 2, 3. We want, yeah. So would it be +1 here? We're looking for those groups of 4. If we take that down, 1, 2, 3. No, I'm looking for 1, 2, 3, 4 here. So I'm getting my meta skills going. Excel debugging meta skill here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 0. We want 1, 2, 3, 4. So can't we just put +1 at the end? Let's try that. Yeah, that gets us 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I want to start at 1. I don't want to start at 2. So if I go -1 here, that should give me 1, 2, 3, 4 there. There you go. So a little bit of hand cranking there, a little bit of getting things to work, but using the row formula and the mod formula, we can get that kind of repeated setup we're looking for. You could have done that manually, of course, but if you had 300 rows to do, that would take a long time. Okay. So we've got those little groups of 1, 2, 3, 4. We now want, once again, some repeated values, 4 1s, 4 2s, 4 3s, and 4 4s. Once again, you could do this manually. Now I've got these 1, 2, 3, 4 groups in. I can use an if formula here, and I can say, if the value in the adjacent cell, in the adjacent column, is 1, then I want to +1 to the cell above. And if the value in the adjacent column isn't 1, that means I want to stay with the same group effectively. I'm just going to take the value from the cell above. So we're actually doing a bit of Excel modeling here. We've got small, powerful Excel formulae working together. I'm going to take this down and I can see, yeah, we've now got exactly what we want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 repeated. And then we've got 4 1s, 4 2s, 4 3s, and 4 4s. So that's the mod formula, guys. I mentioned it earlier in the program. Someone pointed out in the comments that we haven't done anything on it. So there's a little bit about the power of the mod formula. So we can now go Control-C, Control-Alt-V, convert those all to values. And then do we need these? You might want to retain those as sequence numbers maybe, but I don't think we need those. So working through setting up the data so we can create a nice sophisticated chart here. Right, we've got all of our panel combinations in. I'm going to go ahead and put in these column headers. I'm just going to copy these over to save a bit of time here. From this, yep. So Control Spacebar here, Control Shift Plus, just give me an additional column there. And something like this, yeah, something like that should do the job. So we've got 16 panel combinations, perfect. Now we want to get those outputs, the outputs for those panel combinations. Now this is the kind of thing that we did with a data table yesterday. We had our candidate inputs and then we got an output. But this particular setup, we need the 2 panel numbers in adjacent columns so that it's going to work for the chart. That specific setup is not going to work for data tables. So we need an Excel formula here. Should be fairly straightforward. We're going to build a formula across sheets here. So it's going to be the panel 1 input, if you like, multiplied by the panel 1 height. And once again, this is an adjustable parameter. It sits in a cell. We don't want to embed that in a formula because that would detract from the flexibility of the model. That's our first calculation. And then second, it's going to be the number for panel 2 multiplied once again by the height for panel 2 there, and we want that to be fixed. So I'll fix the F4 key there. So formula building across sheets. Take your time to do it. It's a case of making sure you're on the right sheet at the right time. So you'll be able to see how I built that step by step. You can just skip back if you're on the replay, and we can see we've got the output coming through there. And then Control D on the Windows PC. So holding down the Shift key and the down arrow, then Control D on the Windows PC, and I can go and test one. So what if we have 3 panel 1s and 4 panel 2s? What does that give us? That gives us 3830. We can see 3830 there. Okay. Right. So that gives us the output for each of these combos. We then want to know the difference versus the desired height. So you can remember we want to be able to type in the desired height here. So to do that, we did this calculation yesterday too. Let's just shuffle this sheet across. We can say the difference between, so the abs formula is going to return the absolute value. So it's going to remove a negative. If it's a negative number, it's going to be this number, the difference between this number and our desired inputs, which is in this cell here. And then we can close the bracket there. So a bit more formula building across sheets. Yeah, that one is accurate. That's exactly half of the desired height there. Now this gives us the difference here. So this is the basics we need. This is the basics we need for creating this chart. So let's go ahead and create it. It's a lot of preparation. We're 16 minutes in. It's a lot of preparation, but when you're creating a chart, that's where the work is. The work is preparing the data. The actual creation of the chart should be smooth and straightforward, and then you can get into the fun stuff of making it look exactly how you want it to look. So data is ready. Going to go to insert. Now the chart I want is a bubble chart here. And Excel has not done a great job of building it in a kind of, how would you say, automated way. So I'm just going to go back to a blank canvas. I'm going to remove all of the series here. Then if we want to add a series, well, because it's a bubble chart, you can see we've got 4 boxes here. So we need the X values. So is that panel 1 or panel 2 elsewhere in the model? How has that worked? So panel 1 is in the row. So elsewhere in the model, that's what we've done. We've put panel 1 in the row or on the X-axis. So let's continue that for consistency. So let's select the data. Once again, I'm going to remove what Excel's tried to do. And then let's add, let's say the X values is going to be the panel 1 values. And the Y values is going to be the panel 2 values here. And then the bubble size. So I'm going to go for the differences here. I've also got this reverse idea that I'll show you if we've got time. The reverse would mean the bigger the bubble, the more preferable the option. The way we're doing it, because these bubbles are representing differences, the smaller the bubble, the more preferable the option. This is the idea here. We can hit OK, and there you go. There's our bubble chart. So what do you think? You know, a more sophisticated visual in Excel. And as I said, is that easy to interpret? It's easy to interpret because I can see straight away, well, the smallest bubble, which is actually a non-existent bubble, is right here. And it's fairly easy to trace across. And we'll see in a second, we can make this chart even more readable. We can do an even better job of translation. Right, Alt-HOW3. So that's what I'm going to do for the next 5 minutes or so. I'm just going to try to improve the readability of this chart. So Alt-HOW3 here. So chart readability, what are we talking about here? Well, we just want it to be super easy to read. Yeah, we're acting as translators. I'm just holding down the Alt key here and just snapping the chart size to the grid. We're acting as translators. It should be super, super clear. We're trying to sell our house at the moment. Working with solicitors is impossible because they do not translate. They do not make things clear. And anyway, I won't go into that. But looking at these axis labels, Do we need these minor grid lines? Do we need these decimal points? You can't have 4.5 panels. So this is just creating clutter. So we want to adjust a chart element. The best way to do that is to select it and then go to format and format selection. Let's see if we can make some adjustments here. So I'm talking about the minor, the units. The units is what I'm talking about here. So if I can set these both to 1, minor and major, I can see Excel has updated there. And then let's do the same with this axis. In fact, let's see if we can use the format painter here. This is a bit of a chart power tip. If you want to replicate the formatting from one part of the chart to the other, often this is very useful when we're talking about axes. You can select on the chart element that contains that's displaying the desired formatting, hit the format painter option here, and then you can go and click another part of the chart. Oh, that didn't seem to work for the axis selections, for the axis units. So let's go ahead and do that manually. Excel's a skill. It's all good practice for us, but we've managed to declutter a bit there. What about this legend? Is this legend needed? I think probably not in this case. We're going to put an informative chart title in instead. So you see, it's all about decluttering, but sometimes if you declutter too much, it becomes difficult to understand. So I would say one thing I'll definitely want, I'm thinking, what would it be like if I was interpreting this chart for the first time? One thing I would definitely want is some axis labels here, because you've got the same values for both of these axes. So it's not clear which one is which here. Now we know the x-axis is panel 1 and the y-axis is panel 2. So if you want to add a chart element that isn't currently there, we can go to chart design, add chart element. I'm going to put an axis title on the primary horizontal here. I can click in here. So this is the x-axis. So this is panel 1. I'm going to say number of panel 1. Is that difficult to understand? I'm not sure. Something like that, number of panel 1, and then we want to go to chart design again. So now we want to add the axis title for the vertical axis, and here we can say number panel 2. Something like that. And yeah, we're getting to a stage where I would be, it's not too far away, this chart. You've created 80% of the value. It's like the Pareto principle, isn't it? In the first 20% of the time, you're going to create 80% of the value. I feel we're kind of 80% of the way there now. One thing I would want is a chart title. Now you have the option, of course, of putting a title in the chart. So you can go add chart element, chart title. I just find this takes up too much room for me. Yeah, this is valuable real estate inside the chart container. We want to avoid clutter there. So I prefer to just get it outside of the chart container there. Often the meaning of the chart is intuitive. You can work out what the chart means easily from the context and from what the spreadsheet's doing and from the adjacent table. So you might not need a title at all, but I always put a small title in here. So I'm going to say chart, number of panels and difference to desired height, something like that. Something like that. Okay, pretty cool. So we're not too far away. Now, you can see this chart is probably a bit cooler. So the way I made this chart, I mean, I have particular things that I want to do in charts, and we just don't have time to go through that now. But a nice shortcut is to go to chart design. Just look at these recommended formats. So some of these, like I really like this one, for example. Some of these are a bit funky, but this is a great way to get ideas. I like this one. I'm not sure about the color reverse, having the dark in the background. That might work for you, but could be a little bit too much. I like. Which one did I like? I liked this one. Yeah, so I'm going to go for this one here. So if you want to create do a lot of work quickly, if you like, in terms of the formatting, you can look at the predetermined formats there. Okay, so we've got a nice visual. We've built an Excel model. We're now exploiting it, and we're doing a good job of translating and creating insight for our customer. Finally, let's look at putting data labels on a chart. If we wanted to make it absolutely clear what each of those what each of these bubbles means, you could add a data label, probably a bit underrated in terms of charts. So I'm going to go to data label. I'm going to put a data label in the center. You can see we've now just got numbers in the center there. Okay, but what do those numbers actually mean? Well, if we want to change an element of a chart, we can just click on it. So I've clicked on the data labels, go to format selection. Now we've got options here. So we can show, for example, we can show, I'm not sure what that value is. Anyway, we've got lots of options here, and because I've clicked off everything, I've just lost the data labels. So let's try that again. Chart design. Let's go to add chart elements, data labels. Let's put them in the center here. Going to click on the data label, format and format selection. Now here we can choose what's going to appear in the data label here. So here you can see this is giving us the panel combination displayed in the bubble. Now I think that's pretty cool. You can see 1, 1, 1, 2 here. So 1 being the number, the first number being the number of panel 1, the second number being the number of panel 2. I can see that being pretty useful. If we go to, you could name the series. That's not particularly useful in this case. What about bubble? Okay, this could potentially be useful as well. So this shows us the difference value. Is that right? Yes, I believe it does. The first one being 1,110, for example. So if you just wanted to show that, you could get rid of your X and Y series values. You know, I could see that being useful. Yeah, so you got your bubble chart, and then you got the specific values just overlaid over the bubbles there. Pretty cool. Okay, so that's how to go about creating a cool visualization for your Excel chart. Yeah, we've been through Excel modeling week. You don't want to waste all the effort you've put into your Excel model by forgetting to make it easy to translate. This is why Excel visualizations can help us. Cool. Okay, guys, so I'm going to deal any final questions for the live viewers. Just put them in the chat now. I'm going to go through and say hello to people. Just to let you know, guys, as I've said, next week is a rest week. So no sessions next week from 30-day Excel Analyst. We'll be back the week after. If you're watching on replay on YouTube, this won't make any difference because you can just go straight on to the next session, of course. So who's watching with us today? Big welcome to Roger. How you doing? Lee, how you doing? Good to see you. Jim's with us. Now, Jim, I don't think I've seen you in a live session before, so thank you for joining us, and I hope you can join us live again. Let us know a little bit about your situation, where you are, what you're working on. Arnie's with us, down under, of course. Missed yesterday's live session, but caught up today. Hi to everyone on the channel. Hi to you, Arnie. How are you doing? And HD is saying, hope everyone is having a good morning. Nala and I are ready for the class today. I've got Luna. Luna's just down here, just out of shot. When I first found your channel, it was Baymar and I. The point is, big dogs have watched your channel grow. Thanks very much, Heavy Downpour. I love that. It is funny how dogs, if you have dogs, they kind of represent periods in your life, don't they? They're very significant in my life now. Having not grown up with dogs, my wife got me into dogs, and now I'm a complete dog fanatic. Right. HD is saying, yeah, this is why I'm here. I have fancy models and use a bunch of formulae in VBA without the visuals. It doesn't translate as impressive as I like to think it is. That is the comment, guys. That is the comment. You are leaving value on the table if you're not taking the time to make sure your model is as easy to interpret as possible. This is to do with empathy. You know, I don't want to sound patronizing, but what's it actually like for somebody to try to use your file? It might mean making things simpler, taking out some of those fancy formulae or VBA to make it more user-friendly. Thank you, HD. Maz is with us. Maz, how you doing? Thank you so much. Lee says Monday 25th. That sounds about right, Lee. So we'll be on to automation week there using Excel VBA. Paul says you won't be able to catch more streams. Well, it's been good to see you again, Paul. Paul, get back in Members Monday. As I said, send me an email. We'll see what you can do. And Jim is saying, okay, so you're another one stateside, Jim. First live over in Illinois. Fantastic. Just next, hobbyist. Good to have you with us, Jim. And Jim, I hope to see you in a couple of weeks when 30-day Excel Analyst we'll resume. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Hope you're enjoying the program. I'll see you in the next one.